Love how everybody looks away from the camera. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. Imagine you're walking home from after work and you come upon a crime scene. Now all you see everywhere is blood, shell casings, footprints. Why did they land like that? What does it mean? What is it telling everybody? Well, that's part of what forensic analysis is about. What it is, it's telling a story about the scene. It's telling you why the person might have killed this person or attacked this person. It's also telling them how it happened. It could tell them, it might have been a stabbing, it might have been gunshot wounds, it might have been somebody just come up and mugging somebody. All right, forensic analysis is a huge part of law enforcement nowadays in catching criminals because it's how we go about using science to determine who caused the crime to happen and how we can solve it. The analysis begins at the crime scene where the police start collecting evidence. Of course, they get together those shell casings, the blood, the footprints, and they put it all together to play the story out. Now this is the most difficult part because you have to put it in chronological order as to how things happen. From there it moves on to the lab where the body might be taken into a morgue, might be cut open so where you can look inside, do a toxicology report, find out what actually killed the person. It could have been just a person choking on something that was in their throat. It could have been a stab wound or a gunshot wound. My father, he used to be a special agent with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and he did a lot of forensic analysis on animals. And I had the pleasure of working with him on multiple cases. Now, of course, forensic analysis for animals is completely different than humans, but still it goes along the same lines, so I do have a little bit of experience in that. There's a process for forensic analysis. It goes collecting, of course, the crime scene evidence, analyzing the victim or the body, whichever it might be if the person wasn't killed, analyzing the wounds that are on the person. And then finally, the lab work, which includes bullet fragments, going over ballistics, blood, and toxicology. All right, every scene is different, but every single scene will always tell a story. All right, every piece of evidence is important. This includes the blood, the casings, the footprints. The difficult part is, of course, putting it all together to have it make sense and to tell the police or whoever's investigating why it happened and how it happened. Blood shows how the victim was attacked. You'll see blood all over a situation where it might turn out like this, a blood spatter, where when somebody was slashed with a knife. I'm going to pass this around, and I promise it's clean blood. It's mine. I was tested recently. Anyway, it'll show how the person was attacked. Say somebody was coming in with a knife, they slashed, you'll see blood coming off to the side. Gunshot wounds, of course, the same thing. The blood will also show how and where the person was attacked, where the person might have been standing, where the attacker might have been standing. Fingerprints. There are multiple ways to collect fingerprints. Scotch tape. Scotch tape is one of the easiest ones. All you do is put it right over the fingerprint lift, and you've got your fingerprint. Nowadays, with computers, we can actually get partial fingerprints, and the computers will turn them into full fingerprints. So we can run them in the DNA database and determine if the attacker is already in the database for something that he did previously. All right, it also narrows the search and provides a possible suspect. Like I said, you run it through the database, and it'll tell you possibly who it could have been. Footprints. Footprints are big on crime scenes because it'll determine who might have been in that area at that time. The victim's footprints, the perpetrator's footprints are just an innocent bystander that happened to walk by an hour before. A lot of it is matching footprints with the shoes that people were wearing, as well as matching them with the height and the weight of the people walking around. Now you can determine that based off the length of the foot and now the depth of the depression from the foot. Okay, now after they've collected all the evidence from the crime scene, they take all that evidence and they move into the lab, so where they might open up a body or check the wounds on a person who might not be injured, or who might not be dead. The body gives information as to who the person is, how they were attacked, and the time that this crime may have occurred. Say there's no ID on the person's body, they can't find a wallet, they don't have any form of ID, no dog tags, nothing like that. They can use the person's body, the scars, they can use tattoos, they can use birthmarks to identify the person. And if all else fails, they can use the dental records of this person, take a mold of the teeth, and identify the person based off of their dental records. Visual injuries are not always the case. Like I said earlier, some people might have been shot, and they might have choked on something that was in their throat instead of actually dying from that gunshot wound. Okay, there are 4 different manners of death: natural, accidental, suicidal, and homicidal. Each one of those corresponds to how the person died, whether it was just an accidental death, somebody tripped and fell off the stairs, or say they died of natural causes. Of course, suicidal, they killed themselves, and homicidal, they were killed by somebody else. At this point, they might cut open the body to see how the person lived, what kind of choices they made in life, whether it be drugs, whether they got themselves into that case by buying drugs from a drug dealer. Cutting open the body is not the last stop in forensic analysis. The last stop is really the lab work, toxicology, blood work, and ballistics. Test analysis of the victim and the perpetrator. You might get blood on the scene from the victim, but you'll also quite possibly get blood on the scene from the perpetrator. Say the victim is able to struggle, they get blood from the perpetrator, you can automatically rule it down to who it might have been that caused the issue, caused the crime. Ballistics, it was defined as the study of how firearm rounds behave after being fired. That's, of course, after you shoot a bullet. It goes through the rifling of a gun barrel, and you can match bullets with the rifling in weapons, so that way you can determine which weapon it was fired from. And then finally, a toxicology. You can go through and determine, like I said, what kind of drugs this person may have done, why they might be in the state that they're in, and why they're in the situation that they are. In closing, cutting edge to solving crimes, forensic analysis has helped to solve a lot of major crimes in today's times. And more than likely than ever, that crime scene that you walked upon quite possibly could get solved because of forensic analysis. So thank you for your time this evening, and I hope you learned something.
How long is this supposed to be?